Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome one and all. I am super grateful that you've joined me on this magical today. Today, I wanted to get into our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. There's been some news lately about the possibility of some UFOs being shot down. Whether that is the truth or not, what is interesting is that while I was at the Conscious Life Expo over the weekend, Bashar was asked this question. And the response was, we cannot answer this, but we can tell you that we do have the ability to shut down your missiles. And that is a very poignant statement. Our extraterrestrial friends have all of this advanced technology that we do not. And they have the ability to shut down any missile, any nuclear weapon that we may have, because our technology is so below par. And I know this because I do so many QHHT sessions where I have people go to extraterrestrial ships on a regular basis. It is a common thing for me to have people experience themselves being another being as an extraterrestrial, driving a ship, being on a ship, looking at a ship, whatever it may be. There are all different kinds of beings out there in the universe. We are not the only beings that exist here. The world is slowly starting to come to this idea. At the same time, there's also a lot of fear associated with it. And this is the part that I would like to talk about today, because if there were any reason for us to fear, we would know it already. There's a line in one of Dolores Cannon's books, I think it is Keepers of the Garden, where the being that Phil, the client, was channeling, said that these beings are more afraid of the humans on Earth and their violent tendencies and their anger and their nature with one another than the humans are of us. They look at us and they just think, oh my goodness, what are they doing down there? Because they are such peaceful beings. I can tell you, I had my own personal UFO experience back in, I think it was about 2001. Could have been 2000. Regardless, it was over 20 years ago now. And the feeling that I felt when this ship came close to me was nothing but peace. A peaceful wave came over me almost, and it was like I was stopped in time. Like all time stopped, and all I felt was peace. There was no even ability for me to feel afraid. And this is something that comes through in my sessions frequently. That when these extraterrestrial beings, our brothers and sisters from other planets, do allow themselves to be seen, what we will feel from them is this energy of peace, this energy of love. And that feeling is undeniable. And so each and every human that feels this feeling cannot be afraid because you're overwhelmed with this wave of peaceful love. It's really hard to be afraid when you're overwhelmed with this peaceful love. At the same time, what we see in our media and the stories that we are told is that we should be very afraid that there may be this alien invasion and things could get destroyed, blah, blah, blah. Please, if this was going to happen, don't you think we would have seen that happen already? They have been our faithful guardians, watching over us all of these years, actually not allowing the bad things to happen. They have diverted many a disaster from what I hear in my sessions, and many others get the same thing. These are beings who are our family. They have been helping us, watching over us, and guiding us and protecting us all of this time. Why would they want to hurt us? They're only coming here to help us. And the more we understand that these are our brothers and sisters and that we have nothing to fear, the more we can coexist and learn from these beings. Because they have tried to help us throughout the ages in so many different ways. For example, I spoke with an extraterrestrial being who was here during the Neanderthal times. And this being came down in the same image of the beings here on Earth at the time. They shapeshift into these forms so that the people aren't scared. It's very Star Trek-like, where there's lots of smoke and mirrors so that they can mingle in and not disturb them. There is a huge non-interference policy within this universe. But they can come and be just like the people here and teach them different things, like building fire and planting crops. So I've had sessions like that. And there's also been a ton of information where the atomic bomb was given to us, or not the atomic bomb, I need to rephrase, the technology for the atomic bomb was given to us to use as free energy. But what we did as humans was use it as a weapon. And this is an example of why they're so afraid of us, because they give us this beautiful gift that we could use for energy, for heating and cooling and lighting any household that doesn't have light, and powering whatever we need for free. But instead, we decide to use it as a weapon. This is why they are more scared of us. We have no reason to be afraid of them because, think about it, this would have already happened. If they wanted to hurt us, they could. Their technology is way more far advanced than ours. They can come here from another planet. We cannot. We don't know how to do that. For them, it's easy. So far more advanced than we. Our technology doesn't have the ability to even study their technology because we don't have the proper tools. You need the proper tools of that advanced technology to be able to study it. If you have a fifth dimensional object and you're trying to use a third dimensional tool to study it, you're not going to get very far. So these technologies, these beings are so far more advanced than us. And because they're so more far advanced than us, they have learned all of these lessons that we are here learning right now. We're here learning the lessons of love. They've been there. They've done that. They've learned and moved on. And now they're learning the wisdom involved in all of these lessons and the melding of love and wisdom. And when they get to that point, there is nothing other than peace and love and unity. And this is what we have here. And of course, yes, the universe is always balanced by different positive and negative beings. But those negative beings are always thwarted by the positive ones who are protecting us. And if they're not, it's because of a free will choice. If we make the choice to give that focus, to feed the fear in that direction, to maybe partake in choices that are of a negative nature or of self-service, then what we're doing is opening a door to that negative being or negative entity that wants to offer their service, because when that service is focused in one direction, then that teacher for that direction comes along. It's all very simple, really. All of these teachings that we've all been taught that we consciously know, it actually works this way, that we are creating our reality in every thought, in every focus. And this is how creation was formed. Out of the nothing came infinite potential and possibility, all based on a thought, a focus. And that focus is love. And when we first break off from that point, we get to experience all of the different aspects of this duality from breaking off. And we get to come back to this point of loving unity. And these beings that are so far advanced, most of them, have come back to this point of loving unity. And they look back at us, their younger brothers and sisters, as these little children who are throwing sand at each other with our open eyes in a sandbox, hurting each other, not even realizing what we're doing. And all they want to do is help. And because of that law of no interference, they can't just come down and help us. We have to open the door. We have to say, okay, we're ready now. And enough of us need to be ready. And that is why it is so important for us to not be afraid, to understand that these are our brothers and sisters. These are actually other versions of ourselves. I know for a fact that I have a version of myself that is in another dimension that can enter into this dimension and come and visit this aspect of me. That other dimensional aspect of me drives a spaceship. And if I want to, and I do this frequently, and it's not a party trick, I can only do it for myself. It won't happen if I'm trying to show somebody how cool it is, because it's not a party trick. It's not for an ego thing, right? It is just for my own personal well-being and my own remembrance of who I am. And we all have this ability once we remember. And we're all remembering more that we are multidimensional beings, that we have these other aspects of ourselves that we can call in when we need the help, when we need the recognition of our own soul to say, okay, yes, I am a part of something bigger. I am a part of this whole. I am this tiny little aspect here in this reality, but I am part of this one unity. And that is what we all are. I think it's so cool that this other dimensional aspect of myself, I can call on it and it will come. I learned this through one of my very first sessions of my own where I was put into a hypnotic state, where I remembered another life of mine. And I saw myself as an orb that was coming down to help in a kind of angelic way to help someone who was sad and heartbroken. And this orb acts like an angel in the way where it blankets you, just like an angel would, to cover you in comfort, in peace, to help you feel okay for a moment. And this aspect of me was helping a woman in this 3D reality. And I met that woman later on, maybe a year later, after having this session, explaining to her this story. And she essentially started crying before it was done. And she said, that was me. I experienced that exact thing and I felt you. And when I asked her where she was, she told me the place. And I visited that place up in Mount Shasta. And it was exactly the place that I saw in my mind. And so I've had multiple experiences with being in this dimension and experiencing other dimensions of myself, of my other selves coming into this dimension to help me. And this is how I see all of our ET brothers and sisters, all of our ET other selves. They are other aspects of ourselves coming into this dimension to help these kind of, I hate to say it, but lower aspects of themselves, these lower density, lower vibrational aspects, because living in this reality, it is a lower vibration than what we are moving towards. We are constantly increasing our vibration and moving towards this higher vibration, but they are definitely a higher vibrational aspect of us. And so what is fearful about that? Are we that afraid of ourselves, of our future selves? There's nothing to fear here. We have been so guided and so protected, and we will continue to be. And that is as long as you are choosing to live on this timeline of high vibration, of moving into this increasing vibratory pattern. If you are continuing to make these choices, then this is your reality. If you're doing the other thing, like I mentioned a little earlier, focusing on those negative things or that path of self-service, then there is another version of Earth that you may stay on. If that's the case, I don't think anyone listening to this podcast is doing that, but you might know some people in your life who are. And that's okay. That is their free will choice. Remember, this life that we're living here on this planet is just a blink of an eye in the grand scheme. This choice is of a moment, and it's all right. It's always all right. Whatever that soul decides, it's always going to be all right. We choose our path, and we're going to learn on that path. It's a beautiful thing how we set up these ways that we learn here on this earth. We get to choose. We get to choose whether we want to go on this high vibrational pattern where we get to meet and see and be helped from in the physical from our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. Or there's that other path that doesn't sound so good where the earth isn't happy and maybe that contact isn't so swell. We get to decide. In my reality and in all of your realities, I know it, we are moving into this beautiful place that looks to me in my mind like The Secret of Mimsy. Not The Secret of Mimsy, The Last Mimsy. One of my favorite movies ever. And I can never remember the actual name of it, but I think it is The Last Mimsy, where the children are all sitting in the field with their teacher and they're learning about telepathy. Actually, they're not learning about telepathy. They just are telepathic. And they learn just in their minds. It's the most beautiful thing. And they're levitating and out in the field with the flowers, and it's peaceful and beautiful. And this is the reality that we're moving into. And our friends from the galaxy are helping us do that. And I personally am extremely grateful for it, not fearful at all. It's going to be very interesting times ahead. And just remember, there's absolutely nothing to fear. We don't need to get into that old programming that sometimes the media likes to, and the movie industry likes to beat into our head. That old programming that is just not the reality. We are not going to feed in to silly fears when we know the reality is loving unity. I love you all so incredibly much. I'm going to leave you with this song for today. This is Drum Spider, Daughters of the Sun. Until next time, I love you all.